Depression and enlightenment. Hello, this is Chris speaking. Shores of Infinity with a video about depression and spirituality, the path on and towards enlightenment. Many people seem to have the impression that if you're on the path to enlightenment, if you're awakened, you cannot be depressed. Quite the opposite is true, actually. All enlightened people I have met who were honest told me that they were depressed at some point. How can that be? Enlightenment had not happened to them yet, but they were awake already. Awake meaning you don't take your personality seriously anymore. You know, it's not real. Well, this realization that no one is home, that your personality is fake, is not really real, that can catapult you into some form of depression. But even if you don't have this initial lethargy and catatonia from realizing that your life up till now was only a story you've told yourself again and again and again and again, even that aside, look at the world. Just look at it. The only sane reaction to this, what's going on out there, is depression. We're living in a madhouse, in a zoo, in a monkey house, surrounded by lies and stupidity. At least that's how it looks like. In certain stages, if we take spiral dynamics, for example, all first-year colors, yellow and especially coral, this is how the world looks like. Later it will change. It changes already in turquoise, then again in teal, and then from plum upwards it's anyway much more neutral and doesn't touch you so much anymore. But in most pre-enlightened stages, the only reaction that makes any sense is to be depressed on how far gone our culture has gone, the slippery slope of depravity. How much lies and deception and falsehood are celebrated as the next best thing to sliced bread. And psychopaths are celebrated as heroes. So, of course, this causes depression. And depression doesn't have to be now for months or years, but for some it is. For some, a depressive phase is a few weeks. For some it's months, for some it's years. In spirituality, we often call it the dark night of the soul, which is a term, I'm actually not quite sure if it's a Sufi term or a Christian term, originally. St. John of the Cross, the mystic, uses it, for example. So what else is that if not depression? If you look at people, Byron Katie, Eckhart Tolle, Nero, Mike Helvig, many, who are really honest, they say that they have been really depressed at some point. Other famous spiritual gurus, they don't even talk about it. UG, one of my favorite ones, the anti-guru. He said when the calamity, he doesn't call it enlightenment, he calls it the calamity. When the calamity happened to him, there was a transformation physically and psychologically, which was not comfortable to him, for him. And yeah, we could also call it depression, what he had that time when it happened to him. You have to get used to this first. And this is one of the reasons this channel exists, because so many people in the so-called spiritual marketplace, how UG dubbed it, they're just telling stories about how they imagine it would be. It's not their own experience, it's how they imagine it would be, and of course they imagine it to be the opposite of their shitty lives and their shitty experience that they have now. Everyone thinks that enlightenment is paradise, and that the road to enlightenment also must be paradise. It's kind of politically incorrect to say that you're not feeling well. Someone who is awake or enlightened, on the path to enlightenment, has to feel well all the time. Because some people said at some point, all is well. It's true, there are states where all is well. That is true. And there are other states where nothing is well. It all seems like a horror show, where there's no point of getting out of bed in the morning. For what? And these are the things I want to talk with you about in this channel, on this channel, because this is the real world. It's not fluffy flamingos, as I used to say 3 years ago. And I still say it. It's not fluffy flamingos, it's not pink glasses. There's this manifestation hype now with Bob Proctor and Joe Dispenza and all these other people in all countries. It's going around now. And they say, why all this pain? Let's just put on pink glasses and glitter and everything is fine. This is the shortcut. Maybe, let's see. Maybe it is the shortcut. But most probably it's spiritual bypassing. They're stuck in turquoise and they won't get out of there anymore. Most of these energy healing groups and manifesting positive thinking groups, they're stuck in turquoise. At least the teachers are. The followers are often stuck in green. In Spiral Dynamics language. Which is okay. Why not? You can do this. No one forces you to allow enlightenment, to surrender. Because that's what it is. It's surrender. But before you surrender, it's highly likely that you will go through some kind of depression, some kind of dark night of the soul, some kind of what I usually call a spinamics coral. On the other hand, only because you're going through a shitty time doesn't mean necessarily that you're going through coral. You can have a horrible time in any color. Especially up to coral. But usually, most people who think they're centered in coral actually centered in yellow. So what do we do if this depression hits us? No matter in what color and what stage, in what situation. Usually, we try not to allow it, we try to suppress it. But actually, it's old stuff coming up. We have to permit it to get out. It's a cleaning process, and it's the process that prepares surrender. Because the ego thinks it can fix everything, it can save the day. The ego thinks at some point I will reach superhero-dom. I will be a superhero, a superheroine. Which will never happen. And the sooner you admit that your ego, your personality will never be a superhero, will never be a demigod, will never be pain-free, will never be free. The sooner you admit defeat, the sooner you can truly surrender, and the sooner enlightenment can happen to you. Or not to you, but to your soul, let's say. It will not happen to your personality. So, if and when you admit defeat, of course, what happens first is a phase of depression. There's a fear coming up. My God, I can't get out of this. I need help. Or maybe I'm beyond help. And this is jumping into the abyss. So not only is it wrong that depression will not happen to you on the way, or that you're safe from it on the spiritual path, or once you're awakened, not only is that wrong, it's part of the process. It's just differing in length and intensity from person to person. But everyone I have ever met has gone through some kind of horrible low stage of giving up. And in my view, it's wrong to fight it. People are always telling me I feel like falling, but in the last moment I can catch myself and prevent it. Why prevent it? Let it fall. Let the falling happen, and then you will see there is no falling. There is no you. There is no falling. There is no abyss. It was all part of the story, all part of Maya. And then the depression will be gone too, because it's also part of the story. Okay. Thank you for watching, liking and subscribing. It helps others find this channel. Thank you to all my Patreons, and thank you for joining me as a Patreon, and see you soon.